Hello, it's a great pleasure for me to join this ministerial dialogue at the Climate Action Summit to say a few words about the readiness of the private financial sector to support adaptation and the building of resilience in all our economies. Now, I think as ministers are aware, there is tremendous momentum in developing the private financial expertise and ensuring the flow of capital towards mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions. For example, there's $170 trillion of assets in the private sector that is supporting climate-related financial disclosure through the TCFD, and we're on a track actually for those disclosures to become mandatory across many of our economies so that they're clear and comprehensive and consistent. In addition, a number of institutions are encouraging the world's largest emitters to develop and disclose net zero transition plans so that we can help address this issue in as timely a fashion as possible. But when we step back and look at the preparedness for adaptation and the building of resilience in our economies, the story is less positive. The numbers are much smaller. It's estimated that only about 5% of the flows of finance today go towards adaptation and the building of resilience. And that's why the COP26 presidency has made it a priority for developed countries and climate finance providers to substantially increase these investments. So I want to say a few words on some of the measures we can take in order for that to be the case. And I'm going to highlight four particular areas. The first is around disclosure and that mandatory disclosure. Part of that mandatory disclosure of climate-related risks concentrates on the physical risks of climate change, physical risks today and physical risks prospectively. And that process brings much greater focus on the need to build resilience. Secondly, we need to enhance our risk management capabilities. That's within institutions and it's across institutions. And it's very important that we develop this expertise in missing markets, which cover much of the globe, sadly. It's estimated that since 1980, losses from extreme weather events and natural disasters have reached over $5 trillion US, and that 70%, almost 3/4 of those losses, have been in areas where people or businesses were uninsured. That's called the protection gap, and we need to close that protection gap. One of the ways we can do so is using the expertise of the private sector in conjunction with the public sector and provide open source information, open source modeling of these climate risks, these physical extreme weather risks. And that's what the Insurance Development Forum is in the process of doing. And we should get behind that effort and make sure that it applies as comprehensively and quickly as possible. Thirdly, there needs to be more private investment, clearly, in resilient infrastructure and a greater understanding of the impact of that investment. The World Bank, for example, has estimated that every dollar that's invested in resilient infrastructure has a $4 in return. And the Coalition for Climate Resilient Investment is developing asset pricing models which help take this type of return more rigorously into account. And fourthly, we are going to need some new markets. Now, there is development underway of a voluntary market for carbon offsets. That principal focus is around mitigation. But importantly, that market creates the opportunity for co-benefits, and co-benefits being priced. Those co-benefits could include biodiversity, protection and enhancement of biodiversity, and very importantly, adaptation and resilience. So by building these markets out, we can more fully develop. In addition, the Coalition for Climate Resilient Investment is also working on developing taxonomies for bonds that support resilience, and we'd like to see more progress on that by COP. Last word. This very event, the platform that has been created at the ministerial level for the Climate Action Summit, is critical to have, first, the greater focus on these issues, secondly, to reinforce some of the initiatives that I've highlighted here, and very importantly, to develop further ones and accelerate the very important accelerate and deepen the very important, in fact, critical investment that we need in adaptation and resilience. Thank you very much.